What is going on today, YouTube? Hope you guys are doing fantastic. And instead of a normal video about me saying I hate the patch and why I hate it, and telling Weekend he's an idiot, and saying Intersect's a genius, and telling other tank players they're idiots, and other tank players they're geniuses, and Squishies they're idiots, and some Squishies they're smart. I'm just gonna talk about what I think needs to happen for the game to be in a healthier spot. So just going back and forth, I figured I might as well put my money where my mouth is. If I don't like the patch, what would I do to actively change it for the better, at least in my opinion? Again, same as last time I made a video like this. Feel free to agree, disagree. I don't really care. I'm just putting my points out there so that it can kind of be known. And if the devs like any of the ideas, I put them in the Discord that we have access to with the devs. I put literally this entire thing that I'm typing up, I put it in the Discord. They like the stuff, awesome. They change it, awesome. If they don't, unfortunate. I'm not playing tanks, at least for a little bit, until they get buffed. So, I mean, if you're coming to a stream, you better enjoy some full damage Hades support, because that's about all you're getting. Or Int Guan Yu. That's fire. So yeah, before even jumping into like what I want to say about the game, there's just been a lot of back and forth on Twitter. I mean, on YouTube, between Intersect, true extent of Smite 2's recent tank nerfs, my video, Smite 2's new step, new update feels like a step back, tanks are worse after the penetration changes, reacting to our videos, weakened state of Smite 5 days ago, and then more reacting to reacting. So instead of me reacting to their reacting to another video that's a reaction that has some ideas, or whining, probably, a lot of whining, at least from my point of view, or from me, I'm just going to kind of go through all the things that I put in the Discord. Just highlight everything, kind of go why I think that way, all that stuff. I kind of explained a lot of it in here, but if there's anything I feel like I'm missing or if I want to explain something a little bit more deep, I'm going to do that. But you can either read along with me or wait for me to get to a point. Starting off, I just said that I think they have brought tanks into a really weird spot that I don't think is the spot they should be in. Feel free to agree or disagree. I don't care. I just don't like where it is, and I'm gonna say what I think. So starting with supports, I went through 3 roles that I think have an idealistic issue with how the role is forced to be played. I think support is getting way too much gold, especially after that like first item. Supports are getting their first item because of how cheap it is, 1, and then just how much gold they're getting, 2, as fast as like mid laners. That should not be happening. A support should not be the first character backing to get a spike. Should probably be the last in most situations. Maybe if there's like a super cheap item and you got a first blood and you can back and, you know, buy your item. Perfect. Awesome. That's the only real spot that you should be doing it. Or if you're just dominating the map and you and your ADC are both just massively far ahead. I think this is actually causing the issue with the idea between tanks or OP. Protections weren't the issue to me. I was going to go down an anecdotal path of, you know, this is how I feel it because in my games, but I think that is just not great. We all have different games, different experiences. I think it's just, there has to be a downside to tanks. For support, the downside should be they just have less items. So while they do have tank items, they have less of them, so they're not as effective. Passively just being in the game because of support starters, you are just getting so much more gold than the enemy. You get 7 gold for an assist in the game. So 6 minions from a wave, 3 purple minions, 7 on those bat camps, like the 5 and then the 2, 3 at that contestable buff camp, and then 3 at the gold camp minions. And this is, I mean, every wave is 30 seconds. Camps respawn about every minute and a half. This is just a lot of farm that supports just get from doing nothing. Just passively standing in lane. I don't like just passively rewarding players or passively giving people something because it just throws the entire role out of whack. A support role should be behind in farm. That's its job should be low resources, high value. That's what you want from your support. You can try to play a different way of support. You could try putting a support starter on your ADC and have your support do all the farming. You can have your support roam, plays like a double jungler. I just do not like the idea of supports have to be in lane, have to get every minion, otherwise they aren't playing as effective. Literally, the worst thing you can do in the early game as a support is leave lane. Until your first item, you shouldn't leave lane. And even after your first item, you should probably just go back to lane and just keep farming. Because you just get so much gold from this starter. And really, I don't have an issue too much with the level 15 starter. Yes, it gives you a gold every second and it's passively. But at that point, support's already so far behind that giving them an extra gold, 60 gold over the course of a minute, doesn't really bother me. The support's balance, like I said earlier, comes from they should be the lowest gold god in the game, but they just aren't because of support starters. I obviously didn't type what should happen, but personally, if it was me, I would almost outright remove all this. Maybe 1 gold more for every assist in the game. That would be fine. But supports should be underfarmed. That should be your role. And to me, that would separate good supports from bad supports, because a lot of the times bad supports just stand in lane and just soak up farm, and they're doing their job perfectly to a T. There should be value to sitting in lane. There should be value to rotating out. But right now, the value is keeping your ADC alive, 1, and then 2, you're just getting a ton of gold for yourself because you're standing in lane and you're splitting farm. Roaming a lot of the time is just bad. That's a problem. And that's what I think about support. So I think that they should remove that assist gold almost all the way, or at least reduce it. Obviously, I could mention items with all this stuff. Like, even through all this, if all this stuff happened, I still think procs need to be brought up on items a few. Cloak is like kind of auto build now, unfortunately, because it's the only. And I say this because it's just. I said it with Thebes, where it's just like the most efficient item you can get in the role for protections, and it's just the same thing with Cloak now. It's just the most efficient. It gives you both protections of each. It gives you a good amount of protections of each, and it gives you some cooldown. Perfect. You can build health in your second item, which is just a Thebes. But like, I think specifically prot items in their role that don't increase your damage should be higher protections. I think Spectral should get like 5, maybe 10. I think Oni should get 5, maybe 10. Genji should get 5, maybe 10. Breastplate should get 5, maybe 10. And that's like a bunch of items that are just defensive options should get a little bit more. Now, the issue is solo tanks. The downside to playing tanks in solo lane should be that they're clear suffers. If they do that, they can't farm, they won't farm as efficiently, and they will get out-farmed, they'll fall behind in that way to the full damage Hades, the full damage mage, whatever, assassin, whoever it is. That's the downside of solo tanks. Currently, though, mages are just getting played there because, 1, solo tanks just don't, and I say tanks, I mean, you can kind of classify hybrids and tanks together, because currently there really isn't such thing as a hybrid character because they've nuked all those items out of existence. But when tanks were at least played in that role, or warriors were played in that role, maybe I refer to them as warriors. When warriors were played in that role, they had a niche. Their niche was they bullied early game, and they were solid distractions in the late game. Sometimes, I mean, obviously there was points where they were more than solid distractions and they could kill you. I mean, literally a month ago, there was like 7 items in the game where over the course of 2 seconds, they could use all these items and just burst you down. Sunder, Axe, Pridwin, Glad Shield, etc., etc. There was a few, they needed to be nerfed. That's fine. But currently, that niche of we are strong early game, they're not even good at that. So why are you playing that role when they're not good at the one thing they're supposed to be good at? I think solo tanks have to be strong at some point. Currently, they lose most solo matchups. They have to at least be strong early game, otherwise there's no niche for them. Why would I want to play a character that loses lane and then also isn't a distraction late game when I could just play somebody who farms good and can just kill somebody late game? There has to be a change there. However, I'm not saying just outright buffing prod items for solo laners. I think that there's also an issue with the game. I think items like Glad Shield, Mystical Mail, even Pridwin shouldn't proc on minions. Tanks should be building these items for PvP, not PvE and PvP. And I think it was Fleerboot or somebody in the Discord made it a point like 3 months ago of Glad Shield shouldn't proc on waves. And he was kind of brushed to the side. I think it was Fleerboot. He's kind of brushed to the side of like, it's fine, it's not that big of a deal. No, it is a big deal. And he was right. Glad Shield should be a PvP item, not an item that helps your clear. There are a couple items where I think it's fine. Like Bluestone as a starter item, I think is probably fine procking. But I also think there is a way that you make Bluestone only proc in PvP, and you make it better as a PvP item, and you make Axe as better as a like a tank survivability item. I think there are ways to push it so it's a little bit more balanced. For the most part, there shouldn't be many items that help you farm, and if they are helping you farm, they do proc on minions. Their stats need to be less efficient, or the passive needs to be less efficient against minions, something like that. Maybe Glad Shield doesn't work, Pridwin doesn't work, but Mystical procs at half the efficacy on waves. Tanks should have a downside, and farming should be one of them. Supports don't have to worry about farming because they just soak farm. Solo lane tanks should have the issue of they can't farm. That should be their downside. But they need to be at least strong to fight in the early game. And this is an issue that I think, this next one with jungle, I think is an issue that some people are just going to disagree. And I think I just cannot accept a disagreement with something like this. I think this is something that you have to accept. I think jungle hybrid gods are always going to be a viable strategy, or should be a viable strategy. And it doesn't make sense to currently try to axe the style completely. Hybrid gods should win 1v1s early versus full damage characters, as that's what they're itemizing towards. Protections, the first few protections you get, give you a lot more survivability. If I'm playing against a character who's building into a damage item and then a tank item, and I've got 2 damage items, I have to lose that 1v1. I'm building to do more damage quicker than they are. They're building to live a little bit longer and do a little less damage. When we get to the later portions of the game, maybe if hybrid characters are doing too much damage into that portion, into the later portions of the game, we could take a look and maybe hit the late game of it. But hybrid gods should be a viable playstyle, and they should be a style that's supported by high-res, and they're currently not. They completely got eliminated for the most part. There's like one or two, and even then, those styles have just shifted from full damage, or from hybrid to full damage. However, I do think that there is an issue with hybrid gods, and this is the biggest issue. They need to be limited by their clear. However, Boombas and some items hitting camps, like Braggies, Glad Shield, obviously, Mystical Mail when that was used, obviously, again, shouldn't help you clear. Those should be PvP fighting items. They should not help you clear. I think Boombas is just a little bit too efficient with how much it helps your clear. Your basic attacks dealing true damage, your abilities doing 50% more damage, I think is just too much. And most junglers that are building like full damage will be over clearing most of the time anyway. They don't really care about this 50%, except maybe at level 1. But at that point, you're not having a full item, so the hybrid character is going to have the same build as you. I think Boombas is just too efficient. I think it should be kicked down to like 30-35%. And then with that, I also think if you clear worse on camps, I think it's less likely it's bought by other roles also. And so maybe if they wanted to try it, and this is completely off topic, but I was just thinking about it, you can decrease that reduction on minion waves in lane to make it so Boombas is a viable strat in other roles, but not, you know, the dominant one. And it's the same point as above with solo laners. Items can help with farming, but they need worse stats. If that's what they're meant for, if we want, like, you know, Braggies to be the farming starter, perfect. Reduce the stats. Make it so that's its job, is it's good for farming. And now that we have the role stuff out of the way, these are just a few points that I think I'm pretty passionate about that I think should be changed. Backliners should have access to an aggressive relic like Combat Blink. 100% I agree. I think Combat Blink was balanced, and it was both a defensive and offensive relic, but it was twice the cooldown. That's the downside of it. I use my beads, they're up again in about 2.5 minutes. I use my Combat Blink, down for 4 minutes. That's where the balance came from. Now, I'm not willing to die on the hill of Combat Blink needs to be in the game. I think it should be, and I'm obviously, you know, vying for it right now, but when it's not in the game, you just get 60% of relics being beads. ADCs, mid lane, 90% of the time, both buying beads. Junglers buying beads. Supports buying beads. Solo laners buying beads. I don't like. I think that is boring. It's a bad playstyle to have a defensive relic like that rewarded so high. But if there's zero chance of getting Combat Blink added back, regular Blink needs to be buffed. This is more of a personal thing where I think you shouldn't have to kill somebody to have Blink just be a lower cooldown. Blink should just be a lower cooldown. If I'm attempting to make an aggressive play, why am I being punished for that play not working? Do beads get punished for, like, maybe if you beat something and you don't get CC'd, beads aren't up for another 30 seconds after. Have fun, backliners. Like, it's just, why? Why am I getting punished? Or if, like, that sounds exciting to you, sure, add it in. Make it so beads, if you're not taking any CC, 30 seconds until it's back up beyond the normal cooldown. Sure, why not? But I just don't think that's healthy. I think Blink should just be, you're trying to play aggressive. Oh, well, it didn't work. It's back up in the same amount of time no matter what. Especially like something like this. I shouldn't get punished for trying to force the enemy's beads. I'm trying to make a proactive play, trying to pull out his beads. I blink, I ult. He beads it. I don't get the kill. Unfortunate. Actually, it's a lot worse than unfortunate. I'm getting punished for that. And I shouldn't be punished for trying to make an aggressive play because my beads are not up until 3 minutes now instead of 2.5 minutes because you get 30 seconds for not getting the kill. This is what I've talked about a lot on stream. Healing is just everywhere. Everywhere you look, every god is healing. It's why you should be loading into the game thinking of, where am I buying my anti-healing item? Am I building an Ankh? My Divine? My Brawlers? Whatever it is, Lernaean, you're kind of thinking, I have to build this somewhere. And it's not even just counter building anymore. It's just an unhealthy thing. There's just too much healing. Healing needs to be chopped like 20% across the board. Firmly, I believe it. 20%. Every number dropped down 20%. Anti-heal is already good. It doesn't need to be any stronger. Healing just needs to be weaker. And this is a really small thing. I think when you kill FG, those rocks, everyone on your team, whether alive or dead, I don't really care. I think it should be everyone on the team no matter what gets the rocks. But everybody just gets 5 rocks on your team. And there's no way to be like, you know, oh, we give all 25 of our rocks to the ADC. It should just be you get 5 more stacking strength and intelligence for every FG you kill. I think it's cool that FGs, you know, increase your power over the course of that buff. But I think it would be a little bit cooler if it also gave you a little bit of strength if you start stacking these FGs getting 1, 2, 3 FGs, giving your power 5, 10, 15 every time you get it. And it could be your first one's 5, your second one you get 10 rocks, your third one you get 20 rocks or something like that. To make it so it's really ramping up if you're just dominating this game and just unable to end it. I think that'd be cool. But that's just something small. And then lastly, I don't want to make it sound like I'm completely negative about the game. I realized my post on Twitter was extremely negative because I thought this patch was just horrendous, and I still don't love it, but I think there are places that they can go from this patch, and I do still think it's a step back. There are places that they can go pretty easily. If they took my ideas from this, I think it would be really cool. But just to make it sound, it's not like a negative echo chamber. I love the golden XP changes. I think slowing down tanks just a tiny bit, speeding up hyper carries and gold dependent characters just a little bit was perfect. The penetration changes were awesome. You should get rewarded for, you know, building your pen item, not passively rewarded for just building items and they just had pen on them. And I love the new characters and playstyles that we're getting. I think Inbowned is awesome. ADC Kali is a great idea. I'm excited for the new characters and aspects that they're adding in. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my yap session, and let me know down below, what do you guys think about all my points? Support solo jungle. What do you think about those? The combat blink, healing, even my FG change. What do you guys think about those? I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I'll see you guys again next time. Peace.